Hello, everyone. Welcome to ELI, the place where you get your daily dose of inspiration for entrepreneurship. And today we have with us Vaibhav Jain, who is the Group CEO of Jayanita, which is the parent company behind the brand Deco Windows. Hi, Vaibhav. Welcome to ELI.
Hi, Priya. Thank you for inviting me to your show. Glad to be here.
I would request you to introduce yourself to our audience and tell us a bit about the different brands under Jayanita.
I'm Vaibhav Jain. I'm a part of the family that owns the Jayanita global business. The company started back in 1978 and it started with handicraft manufacturing. It was started by my grandfather and then eventually the third generation into the business. With me, there my brother and my cousin who run this business in the entire show together.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
we pretty much 20 years into the company, going through multiple departments, training under different teams, learning manufacturing, learning product development, going through a strict ID training, and then eventually starting my own endeavor that is Deco Window, finally merging that with the Jayanita Group. Eventually, here we are now.
Got it.
So today we are one of the biggest window companies out of India, one of the largest in manufacturing with our own brand, which holds more than 5% market share for India business.
Mm-hmm.
At a company that's growing at the rate of 50% plus CAGR year over year.
Mm-hmm.
And semi, I would say not 100% family owned today. The values and the culture still come from family, but professionally driven.
Got it.
Yeah.
Speaking of market share, can you tell us a bit about what is the market like? How big is the market, and what all different players? I mean, in construction market, there is no single way of doing the windows. For example, you can have wooden windows, you can have the aluminum windows, and all. So, can you tell us a bit and set the context about the market?
Right. So back in the day, and this is how I see window, and I am sure everybody could have that perspective. But usually back in the day, window dressing was mostly by design. So you would go to uh, a dealer's store, buy a beautiful window dressing, some hardware to go with it. Today, I just do not see it as design. I see it as far more functional. It's heat control, it's privacy control, it's your it's your access to outdoor, it's your access to fresh air, it is mosquito control, it is HVAC control, and it's a lot more than what just design. And I feel with that emerging with Gen Z now really paying focus on a lot of these areas with other accessories also available in the market. I do feel there's a huge gap where people do not see window in all the aspects that there is. We as a company, we've been focusing really on an entire complete solution from hardware to fabrics to ready-made products, trying to bring this circle and make sure that all the benefits of window really could be entitled to everybody, 100% of our customers. And that's where we find the gap. And that's where our probably, I would say, our niche also exists.
Okay. In terms of dollars or the market size, I understand every house would have like 10 windows, if not more, and every window would have curtains and all the products that you manufacture. So can you give us a dollar figure of what is the size like, what is the market size?
Right. So I'm close to about, this data is not available anywhere. So we had our marketing team really pull it up. I could be off by quite a bit. But our assumption is out of the 56,000 crore home decor market, the window market for the LIG to HIG is approximately close to about 8,500 crores. Out of which the market that we are in, which is mostly MIG and HIG, mostly in tier one and urban market
Mhm.
and direct consumer market. This would somewhere be between 3,000 to 3,500 crores.
Got it. Got it.
So our TAM, what we see it as, is about 3,500 crores
Wow,
for India.
that's a massive market, and you're saying it's growing at 50% CAGR. That's like wow.
The market's not growing at 50% CAGR. We as a company are growing at 50% CAGR. CAGR, and that's primarily not only because of India. We are a global company with our businesses in South America, US, on pretty much uh, almost every continent. However, the market's growing for India is growing at 21% CAGR. Globally, the window market's growing at between 6 to 20% CAGR. India is a very fast growing market for window.
Got it. Uh, just curious to understand one thing. Why windows as a segment? I mean, there are a lot of different items that goes into a house. Why stick to windows only?
So Priya, this is an interesting question as I like since the category was not started by me, it was started by uh, my father and my uncles back in 90s when the company started in 1978. We were doing mostly handicraft, and 90s where we wanted to really specialize and be best at something. And we just found an opportunity in window hardware. We set up a factory. It worked out to be good. Back then, it was the largest factory of that time. What we have today is the largest factory of this time in terms of global capacity.
Mhm.
So it just turned out to be good, worked for us. And eventually, I think through the period, the pursuit for excellence and wanting to be better than uh, strongly competing with our neighbors, wanting to be better than what we were doing, I think the focus on Windows started growing
Mhm.
far more strong. It's only back in 2009 when we really visioned to be the number one window company in the world. And a lot of strong focus and a lot of strong investments really started happening right from then.
Got it. Got it. Can you give us a bucket list of what all products do you manufacture and sell?
Right. So under the window category, we the window hardware, which mostly includes track system, automatic track systems, window curtain rods, extendable or fixed length. Now that contributes to almost 50% of our total category. The curtain business is about 25% of our category, and the blinds is another 25%. Now that contributes to 100% of the window. I would say there's some share for accessories. We never measured it. Um, Besides this, we also do a lot of other products. We sell to customers like IKEA, where developed certain storage products for them. We are the largest manufacturer for garden tiki torches globally. We've carried the category from the time we started in early 90s. It's slowly phasing out, but uh, it's we still manufacture it. That's about 5 to 6% of our total business.
Got it.
So
Um,
primarily, if you talk about windows, three categories: curtain rods, curtains, and blinds.
mhm. Got it. So, speaking of IKEAs of the world, can you tell us a bit about, how do you acquire customers? What is the marketing and sales model that you have in place?
So usually, like when you're talking about customers like IKEA or Walmarts or Targets of the world, you don't. I do feel this is the B2B large format businesses do not happen uh, just by cold calling. Or I think there's a certain bit of relationship. There is a certain bit of product excellence.
Mhm.
There's a certain bit of price component and certain bit of ease of doing business. And I think as a company, we've really focused on all four areas very strongly. Usually, I mean, and for today, I could say that made in India and India supremacy is also playing a bigger role in making sure a lot of these business come to India and buy.
Got it. And also there is a B2C aspect to our business, right? We sell on all the leading online platforms as well. Can you tell us a bit about that as well?
Right. So, Priya, for us, ideally the D2C, the e-commerce business or the retail business actually started where we really wanted to test our products. We wanted to be faster in terms of design to market. The process with these large retailers usually takes a lot of time in terms of from the time and they're working almost 2 to 3 years ahead. So for if you want to try out something, even if you know of the problem to really correct it and bring it back to market, you're talking about at least minimum an year. So for us, e-commerce was mostly like a vent out where we were quickly churning out products, testing them on the waters, taking feedback in terms of voice of customers, and then really going back to our drawing board again. Now, eventually it started that way, but turned out to be an independent, great opportunity by itself. I feel that that segment that was completely missing in terms of people who wanted a better functional product, who really did not go by a legacy brand, who wanted to try out new, wanted to venture out and experiment. For them, we could really create a space online with our product lines.
Got it. Uh, wish to discuss something around the dynamics of family-owned business. Like multiple transitions happen when there would be someone who started the business and then someone to scale it up to the next level. And I think two, three transitions happened in Deco Windows and Jayanita. Can you tell us about those transitions? Like what were the initial challenges when you came into picture and started leading the business? What were the challenges and what were the dynamics? How did the people of the company see the change? Was there a change management issue? Tell us about it.
So, in hindsight, there's a lot of dynamics to really talk about, especially that's one area that's a part of my core vision to how to scale up family-owned businesses. And I feel there is a lot of strength there. And obviously, it's been a huge journey, a long journey, and then there's a lot to talk about. Um, I would say I'm lucky enough to get a very supporting family in terms of making sure the right things happen in the right time. Also making sure that the right kind of value system and the right kind of coaching was given to make sure that there was a team that was eligible to take this forward. In terms of our, I would say the first and the second generation into the business really strive to make sure that there's enough capital to run the company. And at the same time, making sure the third generation is capable enough to scale this enormously. And the way it was done seemed a lot harder back then, but
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the only and the best case scenario. I even though coming from the family and I always had this vision that I'm going to join the company as a CEO itself. It almost I was trained for 18 years into different departments. I started from the lowest level in the company. I remember my first seat was right next to the toilet. It was an empty seat that nobody wanted, and I was given that.
Mm-hmm.
So what really seemed a lot of hardship back then, I think it was a part of the training and a part of the whole coaching process into where we are today. Also, I would say a strong urge for the previous generation to really enormously grow what they created, and really banking on making sure only whether it's family or it's a professional, only the best person to or the best team to lead would be given this forward. And I that's what I feel. I think that's been the key success to this. However, having said that, there's been a lot of ups and downs, and there's been a lot of every generation has their own way of how they look at things,
Mm-hmm.
how they also operate on the same processes, and from a legacy architecture to a more people-driven architecture, from a regular normal company, IT-based company to IT being one of its biggest strengths in terms of the way how the product development process and the NPI process were looked at, how from a internally focused or financially focused company to a customer passionate company. I think those challenges were a part of the generation gap that took a little while to settle down. And only with the successes that the organization was seeing, I think the storming phase eventually uh, streamlined. But I would say it's a concoction of right kind of things happening and right kind of partners and right kind of family to be in
Mm-hmm.
to make really this happen.
Any big challenges that you handled after you came into the leadership role, especially during the COVID? I mean, COVID was a big hurdle for any business, especially those who are into retail and businesses where there is some sort of offline element to it. Uh, so, tell us about any challenges that you have faced.
I won't say it really in terms of a challenge, but it was a really difficult problem how to manage personality and being coached in the same family. However, being looked at to operate differently. Um, I also got my coaching from a lot of leaders outside. Mr. Anil Gupta, who's been the global marketing head for General Electronic, is my mentor, and he's the one who really helped me out into guiding into this externally. My
Mhm.
father, who's been another inspiration, and I would say my prime inspiration into everything that I do, and I would say 100% of who I am today really comes from him. Now, having these two sort of an external force and an internal benchmark of how personalities were managed,
Mhm.
I think initially was a big challenge. And then I into this role, I would say, at a far younger age, where I was far more driven to outcomes. I was far impatient to outcomes, I would say. And I think that kind of stability took a little while to really come in, to have that patience to wait and wait for the success to happen.
What did you say is the vision of the company? Like, where do you want to reach eventually as a company? Is it going to be only Windows, or do you have plans to diversify or go deep into Windows? How is it?
So there's an external vision that we say that we want to be a uh, global impacting top 10 window companies in the world. Personally, if there's a vision to be best at manufacturing, I feel India is going to be in a very interesting manufacturing space for the next 15 years. I want to take a major pie, or at least have a strong impact on that side. Internally, we're focusing on being best at manufacturing. Window is definitely getting benefited out of it, but I feel in the next few years, there's already a diversification plan happening. A lot of bubbles that we floated inside for diversification of business into new categories, and I'm pretty certain that in the next 2 3 years, you would see at least two or three more categories out of Janita.
Got it. Uh, I read it somewhere. Deco Windows key target demographic is people who are aged between 27 to 55. These are like the millennials. Uh, I mean, what is the ideology behind that?
So one also I call myself young, but I don't think anymore. So coming from that age group, I feel I relate to millennials and Gen Z quite a bit. I
Mhm.
also understood, and this actually came from the marketing and the voice of customer data, that Gen Z valued a product a lot more from a point of view of functionality than just pure aesthetics. Um, I also, being an engineer, I felt that there is a lot of value that could be added on the same products in terms of functionality. Like simple things like automatic curtain rods or home automation were key products that we introduced. Now, it was just, I would say, a better match or ease of doing business to these customers versus legacy customers who only wanted to try legacy brands or were only focusing on fashion and decor.
Mhm.
Primarily, that wasn't my strong forte. That wasn't the strong forte of the company back then. And I would say the willingness to buy or the wallet share for Window is a lot more with this age group.
Got it. Uh, any pivots that you have done to your business? I understand family-owned business are very hard to steer and pivot, but any major changes you have done to the business model?
So, Priya, it is again very interesting, and I think that's been the biggest success in terms of driving from a culture one to a culture two. We call it the 1.0 organization and the 2.0 organization
Mhm.
internally. Uh, and it's been done through a lot of strategic shift. One of the things that you pointed out, right, a lot of these changes can't be done through a knee-jerk reaction,
Mhm.
especially with family businesses. So I would say 50% of the time was making a strong impact, and 50% of the time was managing optics, whether it was with the family or it was with the people who've been with us. And most of our team has been with us for at least 15 plus years. So we've we've had we've been fortunate enough to make sure that we've had a very satisfied team. But that also meant inertia of the way they were going, and that also meant a resistance to quickly change.
Mhm.
So I would say and we really build our annual operating plan from scratch every year, and it really starts from a blank sheet. where we really look where we want to be this year. The overall vision and aim on a high level is defined, but greatly we build the plan for every year right from scratch, and a lot of it has a lot of there are a lot of maneuvers and a lot of strategic shifts that we're doing every year.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say as a family-owned business, it's also become one of our biggest strengths. Usually they say that elephants take time to move. I would say as a company, as a young company, we're far more agile.
Mm-hmm.
Being a family company, being at least a 40-year company, out of the SME zone, we are far more agile than most of the companies our size.
Got it. Uh, I want to understand now a little bit about your personal side of being a leader and entrepreneur. Can you tell us a bit about the life of a CEO? Like, when do you wake up? When do you go to sleep? How many people you meet every day, or how many meetings you attend? How do you, and more importantly, how do you keep up with the stress and the hectic schedules?
Right. This is okay. So I think this is something that I'm still learning in hindsight of how to really manage time. It's something that is always short. Usually my day starts at 6, where I spend like about half an hour with my kid, and then some time with my wife before I get to office at 9. Office is at 9 to 6 straight. It's a hard stop at 6, and back after going home, 6 to 10 is the time I like to spend with my family. Living in a joint family and growing up in a joint family, I feel that's been one of my biggest weaknesses and the best strength, I would say. Not like spending that 4 hours, I would say, is where I get my all my energy. 10 to 12 is mostly the time purely for learning. It's a everyday routine. Usually I'm either reading a book, consuming content, or going through a course. Um, 12 to probably 12:30 is around where I'm mostly replying to my emails. Since we work globally, there are a lot of communication that's happening at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And then most of the days are like this. Monday to Saturday is mostly like this. However, for personally or spending time, I take at least 12 vacations a year. It's a mandatory.
Mm-hmm.
I mostly upfront book 6 vacations in a row, and that's where I really get to spend quality time with my family. Besides this, I'm a photographer by passion, and I love whatever time get left with. That's the time for music.
Mm. You spoke about your mentor. Can you tell us a little more about how you found your mentor, and what role do mentors play in the job of entrepreneurship and leadership?
So how I found my mentor was really lucky. The Mr. Anil Gupta, he was steering the organization into helping Janita grow professionally. It's only during that time where it's one evening I just asked him if he would help me maneuver. And this was not really at that time we've not decided how we're going to take Janita forward. It was mostly personally where I wanted to understand from him how organizations externally, professionally driven, with the right value system and culture, can still grow at 60, 70% year on year growth. And uh, really, I think he just immediately jumped on it. And he said, I'll mentor you through it and never look back. So that was, I was lucky enough to find him as a partner. But what was your, Priya, you asked me another question, right?
Yeah, like, what is the
How
role of mentors? Like, why do you need a mentor? Because you are a leader, you're supposed to know it all, right?
one, you need to tell somebody in life, like there is a flywheel in your car, right? When you're going too fast, and when you're taking a lot of decisions, when you take those wrong choices, you need somebody in your life who can tell you upfront, show you the mirror, tell you that you're wrong, and tell you you need to course correct. Not this opportunity, you may not officially give it to everybody. Your parents might also tell you this from a very, I would say, affectionate perspective. It's only a mentor who would do this to you point blank. and it's only a mentor that you would listen to point blank. You listen to that criticism point blank. And I think it's sort of that relationship that you officially choose, where one person who can really uprightly tell you if you're wrong. Very important to have, however right or how good you might be.
Got it. Uh, any major failures that you have gone through as a leader, if you'd like to share on a public platform?
Uh, so we go through failures every day, and a lot of them. As a company, we like to overcome it. As a person, I like to overcome it. It's always aim for the stars and reach the sky. And when we reach the sky, it's a failure, right? Because we aim for the stars. So, but it's something that really I live by. It's a poster at the back of my room also. That if you sometimes you find things more difficult or difficult to achieve, wait till you get the bill of regret. And one thing that I learned early on is better to do and fail and then really whine about it eventually. So for me, if you ask, I could name you 100 from just last week, but I won't say lately any big ones, because the entire organization is governed through an enterprise risk management system where any failure which really is about to be big is mitigated way before.
Mhm. Got it. My final question. Tell us what are the different lessons that you have learned as a leader. What advice would you give others, other entrepreneurs who are just starting out or who are trying to run a venture but struggling there? What advice would you give? What are the lessons that you have learned?
So Priya, I'm not 100% certain that if I'm a established leader yet to be able to preach about leadership, and it's still, I think, a strong pursuit or learning that I'm going through. However, I think I'm going to share what worked for me. So, as a leader or as a family-owned business, you're always taught to lead from the front. And as a strong leader, I always feel a leader leads from the back. They hire the right people for the right job, but they also learn to get out of the way and really lead from the back by building up people, not by telling people. And this really worked for me. And it takes a lot of effort into building right people in a strong team rather than telling strong team what to do. This really worked for me, and I really see leadership in most people this way. But I do not know if this would qualify for a right leadership answer.
Well, on this note, we have come to the closure of the session. Thanks for joining us, Vaibhav. It was a pleasure to have you on our platform, and our best wishes for Jayanita and Deco Windows.
Thanks, Priya. I enjoyed. I had a lot of fun doing this with you. Really excited. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Vaibhav.